Hi, this is Dan Byram, and I'm with Carlo DeBlasio with Loading from Loops. And this is where the retired officers get together and talk about policing and the evolution of policing. Carlo, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you making some time for us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your career? You've been retired a little while now.
Yeah, I've been retired for about 20 years now, actually.
Wow.
Which it doesn't seem like I've been retired that long. It doesn't feel like it because I've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's not to say that the job wasn't fun. It was. Um, I started with the New York State Police in 1984. I had just gotten out of the Marine Corps. Uh, I was an avionics technician on UH-1N helicopters, and I had gone home on leave about a year earlier and taken the New York State Police exam while I was home on leave. So the state police, I ended up on the list, and I can't remember what number I was on the list at the time, but I figured I wouldn't make the first class, which would be coming off of that list, probably second class. But they must have had a lot of attrition on the first list. And sometime in October of '83, they called me to attend the academy. And I was not done with my enlistment. I had burned up all my leave, and I was waiting till the bitter end to get out
Yeah.
because I hadn't made it. I hadn't really made the decision yet as to whether or not I was going to reenlist or whether I was going to get out. I was leaning towards getting out and taking the state police job. But they called me in October, and I had to defer until March of '84. So this was October of '83. I had to defer until March of '84. So yeah, I did the State Police Academy, 6 months worth, and
Was that a
graduated.
boot camp academy?
Yeah, it was basically a boot. Well, it was a boot camp. It was a 6 month boot camp academy, but 5 days a week. So they cut you loose sometime Friday, late, mid to late Friday, and then you had to be back first thing in the morning on. Well, usually we came back in on Sunday night,
Yeah.
but you had to be there. You had to be there ready for muster first things Monday morning. And I think that's pretty much still the case for the State Police New York State Police Academy. It's on a state campus up in Albany. It wasn't a it was a barracks, but it wasn't a barracks. It was we had quads. We had we had two-man rooms uh, per quad.
Yeah.
So uh, and I went through a couple of different quad mates, but one of the guys that I remember very fondly was Joe Aversa, who uh, who unfortunately was he had um, he'd gone to a task he'd come went on to a narcotics task force in New York City and lost his life in the line of duty. But Joe was a great guy. He and I were
Right.
pals all through the academy, and it was uh, it was a great experience going through the academy with him. Um, Motivated guy, sweetheart, real nice guy. But I eventually graduated from the academy, and I ended up getting stationed in Troop F, which is on the eastern, I should say, the western side of the Hudson River, just north of New York City. Compass is Greene County, Ulster County, uh, Orange County, Sullivan County. So it basically runs the whole western side of the Hudson River from Albany, from the south end of Albany, all the way down to New York City, Rockland County, and so forth. At the time, the job was what it was. It wasn't the best paying police job in the state of New York. At that time, the guys down on Suffolk County and Nassau County were making a heck of a lot more money here than we were. I think we were just under $20,000 a year at that time.
Yeah.
But they gave you a gun and a badge, and this neat uniform and a Stetson, and a nice washed car to go out on the road with and enforce the laws of the state of New York.
Yeah. So
So
you
that
guys
was kind
had
of
take home cars and
yeah.
and
Well, we didn't take home cars. The cars were at the barracks. So you would you come from wherever you lived, and I mean some guys actually traveled quite a distance to come to work. I lived um, I lived in Greene County, and I was stationed in Ulster County, which is the next county south. So I was about 20 minutes, 25 minutes from the barracks where I lived. Yeah, you'd come in, if your shift started at 7 a.m., you'd come in and be at the barracks by 6:30, get suited up, go out, check the car over, sign in, check the car over, see if what the pass down was from the previous shift,
yeah.
and get out on the road.
Every officer and employee in law enforcement wants to succeed, but do they have the tools they need? Backup is on the way. Excellence in law enforcement courses bridge the gap between strong departments and strong communities through often overlooked interpersonal and communication skills. Discover affordable, asynchronous, cutting edge online training in developing character, critical thinking, establishing trust, and command presence. Visit Sabbath Learning to investigate further. We offer individual, agency, and academic rates.
When you say barracks, did you guys like stay there for a week, or I mean, that's just where you operated of? Is that a
No,
term?
no. Well, the state police used to be the troopers lived in the barracks. Um, when it was founded, it was a very much a military, a paramilitary organization. Um, it was founded by Colonel George Chandler. Um, he was the guy who started the New York State Police, and basically the reason he started it was there was very little rural policing going on in upstate New York. City of New York had police forces, and some of the larger metropolitan areas all had police forces. But as far as the policing in rural upstate New York, there's very little of it. You might have one guy who was the sheriff. So state police was a basic. They started on horseback, um, and that was they would go out and they would go out for days. They would go out on patrol for days. It wasn't just going out for a shift. So those
Wow.
guys, yeah, the Gray Riders, they'd go out there and patrol all the back water areas of the state.
Yeah, I've traveled some of rural New York. It's still pretty rugged out there. And
Yeah, yeah, there are some spots. I mean, there were times when I was the only trooper on the road for the whole county.
yeah.
Uh, and back in those days, it really wasn't that uncommon.
So what did you pull? 8 hour shifts, 10 hour shifts?
We did 8 hour shifts. We had three at the time. Now they've changed since I left the job. As a matter of fact, they started to change slightly, just slightly after I left the job. But they were 8 hour shifts. You worked either a 7 to 3, 3 to 11, or 11 to 7. We doubled up on a night shift. On 11 to 7s, you doubled up. And initially, you would double up for the entire shift. And then eventually, they started doing this thing where you doubled up from 11 until 5 a.m.
Gotcha.
And then you'd break off the two cars at 5 a.m. and, finish out the shift that way.
What kind of equipment did you have? If you're
Uh,
basically a one-man army out there.
the equipment that we had was I had a Smith& Wesson model 681 revolver, stainless steel revolver for 4-inch barrel, uh, obviously a holster and a loop loader with 12 rounds of 357 Magnum ammunition in it, and handcuff case and a hickory baton. And that was what we went out on patrol, handcuffs and a hickory baton. And that was what we went out on patrol with.
Brass snaps on
We
your handcuff.
no, we weren't allowed to carry any unauthorized gear. So they were really strict on they were.
On your handcuff case, did it have a brass snap? Because now I think
Oh
they're all,
yeah.
yeah. And you
Oh yeah,
polish.
yeah. It had a brass snap. It was all leather gear.
Yeah.
Um, the holster and loop loader were leather gear. Uh, we didn't wear depending on the season, we had seasonal uniforms. So in the winter we had heavy wool long sleeve shirts. We had Ike jackets. We also had what we called the old horse blanket, which was a heavy overcoat. Um, we had these. I used to call it a Kazakh hat, you know. So it was kind of like one of these big fur in the front, Kazakh hat.
Yeah, the
Uh,
Cossack hat. So they
yeah,
had that
but
Cossack.
yeah, it was. I don't know what they call them, like an aviator hat, with the flaps that come down, buttons on the top and flaps come down over your ears, and the yeah. So we had that, and as far as that went, everything was issued. The socks were issued. The only thing they didn't issue you were your underwear.
Yeah.
They issued your trousers, your shirts, your socks. You had all the winter gear, um, and obviously a vest, a bulletproof vest. Was a soft bulletproof vest that you could wear under you had a carrier that you could wear it either under the uniform shirt or wear it in an external kind of a what's the word that I'm looking for? Quilted external carrier that you could wear over the shirt.
Mhm.
And usually in the winter, that's what you did. You wore it over the shirt, you wore it outside of the shirt and under your coat or jacket. Um, but other than that, we had the old Vietnam era surplus Ithaca pump action shotguns that you could throw one in you could throw one in the trunk or the back seat, along with a loop of slugs and double O buck. And that was it. Their car had a radio. There were no initially there were no portable radios. We eventually did get them during the course of my career. And I mean, it was interesting because during the course of my career, a lot changed as far as the equipment goes with the state police. They went from initially the revolver, and eventually we went to the Glock 17, and and then well, that was the gun that remained with us after the revolver for a good long time until I retired in it.
I went through some of that too over the years, those evolution of the firearms. But have you stayed in touch with any of your police buddies?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, on Facebook, there's a few of them that I'm still friendly with on Facebook and that I'm in touch with. One of the guys that one of the guys that I worked with, who was a younger guy on the job, he had come on the job uh, significantly after I did. So I still have some friends who are on the job still,
Yeah,
that have that were young, obviously younger troopers when they came on. I was one of the senior guys, but we've remained friends over the years.
that's great. That's good. It's good to stay in touch and see. So what do you see changing in police work? Is there any changes or
Well,
evolution that concern you or
that's
things
an
that
that's
make
a
you happy?
yeah, that's an interesting question because I was thinking about this last night, and how um, one of the things that I think is that I don't know how I would have felt about it when I was on the job, but looking back at it and looking at kind of the cultural changes that have taken place in the country since from between 1984 and now, I think body cameras are enormous. Um, and there's a double-edged sword to body cameras. They catch the mistakes, but they also catch the bad guys.
Yeah.
in a sense. It's a real time indisputable recording of events that have taken place. And I think it's an excellent tool. It's an excellent tool for law enforcement if they can, if they can get the mindset together, um, to kind of embrace it rather than feel that it's a hindrance.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Carlo. I was thinking, what in the world are these things? And when they came out, but they've ended up clearing more officers than convicting any officers
Yeah,
in the long
yeah,
run.
exactly. And that's a big deal.
It is big.
It used to be with the state police anyway. If someone filed a personnel complaint against you, I mean, it was super stressful. There were you had to, you basically had to kind of, fight for your life. You always felt like you were fighting for your life, you know. Somebody would come in and say that, during an arrest you manhandled them or hit them or said something to them that was out of the way or whatever. You know, and I have to say, fortunately, I did not have too much of that. But I saw guys go through that and actually be put through almost literal hell, trying to clear themselves.
Yeah. And in the old days, it stuck with you. The supervisor would say, well, yeah, he was cleared 3 or 4 times, but where there's smoke, there's fire. There's always
Right,
somebody
right.
would lay that,
Yeah.
that.
And by the same by the same token too, were there instances probably where guys deserved it? Yeah, there probably were, but at the time the culture was different. I think the respect for police was let's say higher, but it was a different there was a different level. There
Yeah,
was a little bit of that, it's better to be feared than loved thing that went on in police work.
so true. This may shock you, but I used to accumulate quite a few attitude complaints from the public and my supervisors.
I
And
can't see that.
I don't know where that came from. I was a victim, I guess, really, when you think.
I think at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's a very astute observation of how things have changed, and particularly how the public looks at law enforcement. And I don't know why. A lot of guys have theories, and I have a few theories, and I don't know what will turn that around. But
Well, I think some of it has to do with it's a cultural shift, right?
yeah,
We've got group now, with social media being what it is. It's very easy for people to be uh to second guess things. It's easy for people who are malcontents to become loud voices.
yeah,
I think there's some of that that goes on. And it does have a negative impact on policing. My nephew recently became a police officer in Danville, Virginia, and he loves the job, and he he's he's good at it. But if he, when he came to me and told me he was doing it, I said, "You're crazy."
yeah,
I said, "You're absolutely crazy." I said, if I had to go into law enforcement today as a young man, I think I would have passed it up.
yeah.
I honestly do. Looking at the way things go,
Maybe re-enlisted in the Marines again
I would
instead.
have reenlisted. I would re-enlisted in the Marines. I'd have been traveling the world, meeting strange and new people,
Yeah.
and firing at them from the door gun of the Huey.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it's a yeah. I think it's tougher today. I
Yeah.
honestly do. I think it's a much harder road to hoe. The I know in the New York State Police, they and we found it to be I found it to be interesting. So when I went on, you had to have a high school education. You had to be a high school graduate. Didn't need any college. And nowadays, they're kind of looking for guys with degrees. And I think a little bit, I think they've lost a little bit by doing that. And I'm not saying that guys with degree, that it's better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
Um, when you became a cop back in the, 80s, 70s, 80s, 60s. I'm gonna go back as far as the 60s because I mean those were my first memories of ever seeing, state troopers. So 60s, 70s, 80s, these guys were larger than life.
Yeah.
It was kind of I don't want to say it was a prestige position, but it was a respected position, and especially New York State, especially the New York State Police, the troopers. Um, it was, they used to have this little saying that was like one riot, one trooper,
Yeah.
you know, and and it was true. If you think about it, those guys on horseback, if they'd show up at something and it was them and the bad guys,
That's right.
and they'd handle it.
Yeah. Things have changed.
Significantly. I mean,
Yeah.
I just look at all the gear that these guys carry on their belts now. I mean, between the taser and the pepper spray and I mean, we kind of were heading in that direction as I was leaving. We had gone to the Glocks. We had the 17 round Glocks with the 2 17 round magazines on the belt, and the pepper spray now it is an addition. And we didn't have we didn't use anything fancy as the batons went. We still remained with those hickory batons. Those things actually, they were high velocity impact weapons, they called them. They weren't like the Coca-Bolas, which were heavier. They literally were meant to whistle through the air and put a crack on somebody if they needed it.
Yeah.
They weren't necessarily the bone breakers that the Coca-Bolas were. But you know, uh, I ended up, in defensive situations, I ended up jabbing more people with them than I did actually striking.
That's what they were best for, I always thought.
Yeah.
Nightsticks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen,
Getting some distance.
yeah, we're running out of time, so I hope maybe you can come back sometime and we can follow up with a little
I'd
bit.
be happy to.
I
I'd be
appreciate
happy to. Try to arrange it when there's not any interruptions because today was just one of those weird days. I didn't think the situation was going to be what it is, and here we are.
Yeah, there we are. Well, I hope we can get you back and hear some stories about the highways of New York and your adventures out there on the road. But
Sure.
thanks for joining in and hope to talk to you again soon.
Well, thanks for having me, Dan.
All right. Thank you.
Take care now.
Loading from Loops is brought to you by Sabbath Learning. Register now for the Excellence in Law Enforcement courses. Click the link below for more information.